What I've basically got is a 3-day per week bodybuilding training split. Typically that will follow a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Saturday, although I have some sort of freedom to move them about just a little bit. So it might mean, say my elbows are trash and I've got a push or an upper body day on Monday. Maybe I'll push that to Tuesday. Maybe the lower body go to Thursday, and the Saturday's work might get to Sunday, sort of thing. But generally speaking, it's a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday split. And as you can see here, so I've got the set number, so the amount of sets I'm doing. That's more just for completeness rather than anything. I know, generally speaking, I'm going to be doing 1 set per exercise. A lot of cases, it's 1 set per body part, so what have you. The weight is just listed in the weight that says on the stack. So here in the United Kingdom, beloved town of Christchurch, we use kilograms because kilograms is the correct metric to be using this side of the pond. So what we see here is 104, 100, 60. BW just means body weight, 45. And some of the different stacks of weights will have a slightly different increment based on any additional little plates you might add to it. Time to tension, or also called time under load. Slightly different things, but essentially they do kind of mean the same thing. So that's the amount of seconds that I'm performing each set for. Now bear in mind, I'm also standardizing my repetitions, so each one looks pretty much roughly the same in terms of cadence, tempo, range of motion, all that sort of thing. Here you'll see green signifies that I've made an improvement versus the last session, and red signifies not good, no improvement, terrible. The grey ones here, so they're emitted, so they're what I was doing before, but that's where I've reduced the training volume because my body cannot recover from that volume. Essentially what you've got here is a D-handle pull down, an incline press, horizontal row, push-ups, cable curls, and push down. So essentially you've got a lat movement, an upper chest movement, whole chest. You've got a mid-back movement. You've got a pretty much an all-round chest movement here, a bicep, and a tricep movement. AMRAP means as many reps as possible, which is what I do all the time anyway, pretty much. As long as I can do it safely, it doesn't hurt me. Then 1 + 2 RP means 2 rest pause sets. So it means I've done 1 straight set. So it might be, 4 or 5 reps here of the cable curl. It means I rest 10 seconds, do a second set, I might get 2 reps. The third set, I might get 1 or 2 reps again. So basically it's 3 sets, but with 10-second breaks between each set. And what you'll see there is the weight will go down each time, but I've accumulated the entire time to tension in this figure here, which is why you see it drastically higher than the other ones, because I'm doing more volume in a set period of time, but with the same cadence. And red again signifies not good. So I kind of expect that, given it's the last exercise of the day on a Monday, upper body day. But that's where I've landed so far. So with this data, I'll be able to test out, I'm quite well recovered. Generally speaking, when you're dieting for bodybuilding competition, you don't expect to get stronger, but in this instance, I have. How? PEDs, better recovery, better sleep, and having a good handle on managing your output during the day. That's how I've done it. Is this possible for natural athletes? Probably not, unless you weren't redlining your training in the first place. That's my disclaimer, my transparency, as always. Sorry if I'm rambling a bit, but I won't rehash the same points, but I'll just briefly go through what I'm doing. So seated calf press. I pretty much max out the machine in this, and I've got pretty big calves to show for it. So that's why the time to tension is so high. But also, this is the only set I do per week in terms of calf training. So what you see here, guys, on the screen as I go through the upper, lower, and full body workouts is the full workout. There's no additionals. There's no, you do a few pump sets or no. What you see is what you get. So if you watch me in the gym, you'd see me do 1 set of that or 2 rest pauses, and I'll be on that machine for 2.5, nearly 3 minutes. Leg curls, we've actually had to increase volume here. This is against my sort of standard principles in terms of bodybuilding training. It's not because I think 2 sets is better than 1. I think you can get pretty much all the results you want out of 1 as long as it's hard enough. But with my spine, hip issues, when it comes to doing I'd say a lot of back and posterior training. So we're talking about hamstrings, glutes, upper, lower back, lats, that sort of thing. I tend to not have as good connection nowadays, or at least I can't train as hard as I'd like, because the inertia, momentum that comes across when you train too hard with very specific movements in my specific case can be quite damaging. So I'm not redlining these sort of sets. That's why there's 2 of them, to make up for the fact that I'm not redlining it. There's still intense sets where I could say, yeah, I've trained harder than most people that go to the gym. That's good enough for me. Extension, so that's a quad exercise. leg press. I've got a little note section here, so if I've put too much weight on, maybe my knees or hips feel a bit tight, maybe it just doesn't feel right that day, too heavy, so just a little note here so I can say, well, next time I'm not going to do 193, maybe I'm going to do 170, for example, something like that. Then I expect this number to go up as a result of the lowered weight. And I've got 3 sets of crunches at the end. You can't really see all of them, but yeah, three sets of crunches. You should see the drop off as time goes on. I maintain the same weight, but yeah, I actually find these extremely physically taxing. Ab exercise for me is really taxing because the stability just is not there. So, you know, that's probably why there's 3, just because, well, I'm not going to be able to max out each set to absolute true muscular failure because my body will probably damage itself along the way. So I'm leveraging volume in this case rather than straight intense sets. Now the last one, same sort of format again. What you see here is generally sort of more average sort of progression throughout the week, or maintaining, in one case here, a loss in terms of time to tension. You'd see this towards the end of a full training week anyway. For example, here it's my biceps. Well, they're going to be tired from the pull downs, gripping onto the lying hamstring curl. So that machine, so I'd expect that one to be one that dips quite quickly. You can, when you look at this, you can actually begin to rationalize based on me, my performance, my recovery, my injury, things like that. That kind of makes sense. So my weakest body parts are ones which are reflective of the exercises that are going to probably give me potential damage, but the way I lift them is immaculate, so the damage is mitigated as much as possible. But effectively, it's just a full body workout. So the main exercises that I need to bring up certain body parts kind of make sense to me. Now you might be wondering, why even put shoulders here for 1 set per week near the end? The reason is because I've still got a wound in my shoulder, which is kind of there. You probably can't see it in the camera. I don't know, probably not. Basically, every time I move the weight, it stretches that wound, which is irritating as hell. It does pull a bit, not so much now, which is why I've added in this exercise. It's a way of me doing a movement which targets the shoulders without any excess overhead strain or inability to maintain the correct range of motion for what I'm trying to achieve based on what I can do with my limitations right now. So for me, having a weight like this, a cable row, I can see my shoulder. I've got good stability. I'm lying down almost. I've got good balance, good bracing. You can get some good blood to the area without damaging that joint, which is not yet able to withstand like a heavy sort of shoulder press movement. So that's why that's there. And again, the grey one's just been omitted there. But generally, you see across the week, strength has maintained itself quite well. I mean, if we look at the whole week, so I've done, 24 sets in a week, maybe. One that's lowered here, one that's lowered there. So 2 lesser sets. But generally speaking, my performance has been good. So that would mean any sort of change in diet or training or whatever would be probably minimal. PEDs may increase, they probably won't though. But that's based on weeks prior to the event of these workouts. But yeah, at the end of the training week.
Introducing Beef Up Carnivore Bodybuilding Bible. The ultimate guide for men and women to lose fat and build muscle. And the best part, it's only $12. Don't miss out on the most detailed resource available. Get your copy now at compositionconsultant.com. Build muscle and lose fat on the carnivore diet.